Today, we'll answer the question probably no one ever asked. Can you make a world-class cocktail using IKEA ingredients? Let's find out. To start, I'd like to make it clear that this is in no way sponsored by IKEA. Robbie came up with this idea a while back when he noticed some interesting food ingredients at IKEA. I like the challenge, so here we are. We were lucky enough to be allowed to film at IKEA, the neighboring Austria. And we of course bought everything you'll see us use for the cocktails.
Aqui što uporabljamo, kjer je koktel.
Milk punch najverjetneje. Dekoracija. Piškote, ampak ne razumem, kjer so. Atara, ok? Ginger. Za cordial, Pine. Smrad, rekao. Hi friends of cocktails. Let's first talk about the rules of this experiment. There's a lot of different stuff here. But sadly, they don't sell spirits, bitters, or a few other things I like to use when making cocktails. So, how do we do this? I'll use IKEA items and their flavors to create unique cocktails, adding spirits and a few other basic ingredients not available at a Swedish furniture store. But we of course don't need all of this for one cocktail. Here's what I'll work with this week. I think I moved a bit. You sure this will look good?
Yeah, you're okay.
I'll probably butcher these names, but here we have Olmork, Dark Lager, Patar coffee beans, Marmelade, Appelsin and Flader, Orange and Elderflower marmalade, and Beloning, dark chocolate with coffee. All of these will be turned into delicious ingredients and used to make a unique twist on the old-fashioned. To make it, I'll also need bourbon, Cocktail Time house bitters, and saline solution. For bourbon, I'm using Maker's Mark, and the bitters are a mix of aromatic, orange, and chocolate bitters. So basically, you can get this stuff at IKEA, this stuff at Curiada. You'll find all the bottles I use through the link in the description under the Cocktail Time collection on their site. And don't worry, this doesn't mean there will be no homemade ingredients. I'll reduce the beer and turn it into a syrup. Temper the chocolate and make little cups with it, and fill them with orange marmalade foam. I'll also show you how to mix these Cocktail Time house bitters. But first, let's start with the beer reduction syrup. When you're cooking off beer, you want your kitchen hood to be set to full power, or you'll be smelling that beer for a while. I'll just do it outside with a portable hob. Add 150 grams of Olmork dark lager into a pot, with 100 grams of the Demerara sugar. Malty dark beer and slight molasses notes will pair nicely. And to enhance the coffee notes of a dark lager, lightly crush 1.5 grams of coffee with a mortar and pestle, and add that to the pot as well. Now comes a bit of math. To get a 1-to-1 syrup, we need an equal amount of beer and sugar. That means we need to cook off 50 grams of the beer. I find the easiest way to do that is to first weight the entire pot with the beer, sugar and coffee, and subtract 50 grams to get the weight we are aiming for. Maybe write that down just in case you forget. I hope this makes sense. If you know a better way to do this precisely, help us all out and leave a comment. To start the process, place the pot on the heat. To first dissolve the sugar and then reduce the beer. Stir every now and then, and when the beer starts to simmer off, check to see how much you've cooked off. It will take a little while to get to the goal weight, but don't rush the process or turn the heat too high, or you'll ruin the pleasant aroma of the beer. We've made a beer reduction once before, turning Corona beer into a cordial. This will be similar, but without adding acidity. When the beer reduces enough, you'll have what is basically a 1-to-1 syrup with a malty, rich flavor of beer and dark roast coffee. Then it's time to strain out the coffee particles. You can now bottle your IKEA beer syrup. Leave it to cool and you're ready to move on to the next ingredient. we'll turn the orange and elderflower marmalade into a foam that will replace the orange zest on top of the cocktail. I'll mix it with water, saline solution and xanthan gum to stabilize the foam, which we'll make with an ISI cream whipper and a nitrous oxide cartridge. We've done foams before, so let's get right into adding our ingredients into the blender, starting with 120 grams of marmalade, apelsine and fladder. Follow that with 80 grams of water and 2 drops of 20% saline solution. If you don't feel like making saline solution, just add a small pinch of salt. And so the foam stays stable for longer, 0.5 gram of xanthan gum. If you don't have xanthan, you can try to make the foam without it, but it will turn into a liquid faster. Blend thoroughly to mix everything nicely, then strain straight into the ISI chamber. The filter will catch any solids from the marmalade. Close the cream whipper and add the nitrous cartridge. Once it's charged, all you have to do is shake it up a bit and place it in the fridge for at least 2 hours. Chocolate will be used to make small cups that will hold the orange foam. This ballooning dark chocolate with coffee crunch will complement the dark beer syrup and the house bitters. To shape chocolate into beautiful cups without any white spots, we'll have to temper it. I'll split the chocolate 2/3 and 1/3, then cut it into small chunks. I'm following the no BS instructions for tempering dark chocolate from Chef Rudakova. I'll leave a link in the description. Get a double boiler ready and add the 2/3 of the chocolate. The steam from the pot below will hit the bowl on top, melting the chocolate. Once that happens, make sure to check the temperature. That's the key to a successful tempering process. For dark chocolate, you want to heat 49 degrees Celsius or 120 Fahrenheit. Then take it off the heat to mix in the rest of the chocolate. Here's where I noticed that this chocolate, probably because of the added coffee, might cause some problems. Even when hot, it's really thick or viscous, so it might be hard to shape into cups after we add it to the mold. First, we need to lower the temperature to 26 degrees Celsius or 79 Fahrenheit. Lifting it with a spatula will help with this process. When you reach that temperature, place the bowl back on the heat. Keep stirring and keep an eye on the temperature. Once it hits 31 degrees Celsius or 88 Fahrenheit, you're done. With our chocolate tempered, we can now take it off the heat and start adding the chocolate to our little molds. We use the same molds for the isomalt candy garnishes in the gimlet episode. When you use up the chocolate, start turning the mold, with the goal of covering the sides as well, to create a small cup shape. Like expected, this was harder than I hoped. Because of the viscosity of this chocolate, you can try to shape the cups in the mold with the handle of a spoon. I think there's a reason I'm a mixologist, not a pastry chef. Then, to help it cool faster, you can place the mold in the freezer. Once the chocolate cools off completely and hardens, you can carefully or clumsily take the cups out of the molds. And they're ready to be used as garnishes for our old-fashioned. Last thing we have to do is mix the Cocktail Time house bitters, and you'll be seeing this a lot on this channel going forward. I came across a few cocktails using mixed bitters and did a lot of testing to see what I think works best. At the end, I found that the combination of Angostura aromatic bitters, my homemade chocolate, and orange bitters gives the cocktails incredibly full flavor and depth. As substitutes for these two, I'd recommend Bitter Truth chocolate bitters and Regan's orange bitters. I worked out that the ratio of 4:4:3 works best, so start with 20 ml of Angostura bitters. Follow that with an equal amount of chocolate bitters and 50 ml of orange bitters. If you're in the US, you can do 1 ounce and 3/4 of an ounce. After you add them all into a dasher bottle, your Cocktail Time house bitters are ready. It's an IKEA cocktail, so of course it takes a long time to put together. Let's finally assemble all the parts. Start by chilling the mixing glass. As I'm doing that, a large rock of ice is already tempering, so it doesn't crack when we pour the cocktail over it. Dump the ice and add the ingredients, starting with 5 dashes of the Cocktail Time house bitters into the mixing glass. If you use a dropper bottle, 2 or 3 dashes should be enough. Follow that with 7.5 ml or 1/4 of an ounce of our dark lager syrup. This would also work great in a cocktail with a funky rum. Next, 60 ml or 2 ounces of Maker's Mark bourbon. This is smooth enough to work with all other ingredients without overpowering them. And to enhance all of the flavors, 2 drops of saline solution. Add plenty of ice and stir to chill and dilute. Drain the glass and slowly pour the cocktail over the large clear ice cube before adding the garnish. A chocolate cup filled with orange marmalade foam. Vacker. That's Swedish for beautiful, I think. With that, it's finally time to say the Swedish word that's a bit easier to pronounce. Skål. Candied orange with chocolate and subtle coffee is the perfect substitute for the fresh orange aroma in a classic old-fashioned. The rich, full-bodied taste of an old-fashioned is right where it needs to be, but the addition of malty, dark roast notes of the beer-reduced syrup and house bitters elevate the cocktail to a new level. When the foam from the chocolate cup joins the cocktail, it gives you another experience altogether. Orange and floral notes of the marmalade foam start a whole new party of flavors you wouldn't expect in a typical old-fashioned. It's delicious, and I hope it inspires you to try something different as well. This was fun to put together, but let me know if you enjoyed this IKEA cocktail experiment. Did you even know that they sell stuff you can use in your cocktails? And would you do something different with these ingredients for an old-fashioned? Let me know in the comments. I've got some pretty fun cocktail ideas lined up with more stuff we bought, but next week we'll do something a bit more classic. Cocktail time style. See you then. Cheers.